Here's a guarantee. Life is going to be difficult. And that's not pessimism. That's just a fact. You will be frustrated. You will be disappointed. You will get your heart broken. You will feel overwhelmed. And you will have days where you just want to pull the covers over your head and ask, what is the point of all this? So the real question isn't if life will be hard. The question is, when it gets hard, what do you do? If you search for an answer to that, especially online, you will find two massive, powerful philosophies that everyone is talking about. Of course, among many. On one side, you have the Stoics. They offer you an unbreakable shield, a path to inner peace, to resilience, to becoming an unshakable fortress that no amount of external chaos can touch. On the other side, you have the Absurdists. They don't offer you a shield. They offer you a kind of fire, a path of passionate rebellion, of freedom, of facing the chaos head on and living in spite of it. Both of these promise a way to handle a bad day. But there's the problem. They're fundamentally different. And one of them might be exactly what you need, while the other might be terrible advice for what you are actually feeling. So today we are putting them to the test. Stoicism versus Absurdism. It sounds silly, but hear me out. And don't worry, because it won't be a lecture. It will be a practical guide for when your life feels like it's falling apart. Let's set the stage with very real and very painful scenario. Imagine you have been working on a project for weeks. Maybe it's for your job, maybe it's for your university. You have poured your evenings, your creativity, yourself into it. And you're finally proud of it. You walk into a meeting to present it, and your boss or your professor doesn't even get angry. They just look at it, and with total indifference they say, yeah, this isn't quite it. This isn't what we are looking for. Just start over. And that's it. No constructive feedback, no appreciation for the work, just dismissal. It happens. You walk out of that room and the floor just drops out from under you. It's that awful sinking feeling. The anger, the humiliation, but worse than that, the futility. You think, why did I even bother? Why am I trying so hard if it can be erased in 10 seconds? And that's the bad day we are talking about. How does a Stoic handle this? First, we have to understand where Stoicism comes from, because it's not an abstract theory. It's a toolkit forged in the most extreme conditions. The two most famous Stoics couldn't be more different. One was Epictetus. He was born a slave. His body was not his own. He was beaten and his master intentionally broke his leg, leaving him crippled for his life. He had by any definition zero control over his external world. And the other was Marcus Aurelius. He was the emperor of Rome, the most powerful man on earth. He commanded legions, ruled continents, and had by any definition all the control. And yet the slave and the emperor came to the exact same core conclusion about life. How is that possible? Because they both realized that their power, or lack of it, was an illusion. The emperor was just as vulnerable to plagues, to betrayal, to the death of his children, as the slave was to the whim of his master. They both realized the only thing they truly owned, the only thing they could ever fully control, was their inner world. And this is the core of Stoicism, the dichotomy of control. It's a simple life-changing question you ask yourself in any situation. Is this in my control or out of my control? Things out of your control. The weather, the economy, what other people think of you, what your boss says in that meeting. And things in your control are your thoughts, your judgments, your intentions, and your response. The Stoic argues that all human suffering, 100% of it, comes from one simple mistake: trying to control what we cannot and failing to control what we can. So let's go back to that awful meeting. You are walking out, feeling that way of humiliation and anger. The Stoic inside you stops, takes a breath, and applies the dichotomy. My boss's opinion? Out of my control. His indifference? Also out of my control. The fact that I have to redo the project? Out of my control. So what is in my control? My reaction to this event, my judgment that this is awful or humiliating, the integrity I bring to the next version of the project, my choice not to let this external event destroy my internal peace. The Stoic isn't a robot. They feel the anger, but they withhold assent. They notice the feeling and then choose not to agree with it. They see it as a wave and they let it pass, standing firm inside their inner citadel. This is precisely the Stoic Shield. It's an incredibly powerful tool. For the daily frustrations of life, it's unmatched. Someone cuts you off in traffic, out of your control. Let it go. You spill coffee on your shirt, also out of your control. Annoying, but not a catastrophe. Or for example, you forget to turn on your camera while recording a YouTube video, and you have to record once again. It gives you this profound sense of resilience. It makes you responsible for your own peace of mind. It's a practical, powerful way to protect yourself from the 1,000 tiny arrows the world shoots at you every single day. What if you are in that hallway after the meeting and the Stoic response just feels empty? What if you try to tell yourself it's out of my control, but your heart just screams back, but it mattered to me. I wanted it to matter. What if the problem isn't just that you are annoyed? What if the problem is that you feel hopeless? What if this one event just proves what you have long suspected, that the whole system is pointless, that your job is meaningless, and that you are just a cog in a machine? This is where the shield feels less like protection and more like a heavy and cold wall. This is where the bad day becomes an full existential crisis. And for that you might need something else entirely. This brings us to our second path, Absurdism. If Stoicism was born in the palaces and slave quarters of Rome, Absurdism was forged in the fire and rubble of 20th century Europe. Its most famous voice is of course Albert Camus. Camus was not a man who had the luxury of abstract thought. He grew up poor in Algeria. He lived through World War II, and he was a crucial member of the French Resistance, writing for an illegal newspaper, fighting the literal, physical, genocidal evil of the Nazis. He saw the worst of humanity. He saw concentration camps, he saw betrayal, he saw the world's descent into irrational, murderous madness. He couldn't just sit back and say, well, the war is external to me. He had to find a reason to get up, risk his life, and fight for a better world, even when the universe was screaming that nothing mattered. From this fire, he gave us the concept of the absurd. And this is so important. The absurd is not a feeling. It's not just life is meaningless. That's more of nihilism. Camus said the absurd is collision, a gap. On one side you have us, so human beings. We are creatures that burn for meaning, yearn for it. We desperately want justice, order, and for our lives to have a point. On the other side you have the universe. And the universe, Camus says, is cold, silent, and completely indifferent to our hopes, our dreams, and our suffering. And the absurd is the clash between our desperate need for meaning and the world's silent total refusal to give us any. It's that feeling you get when you look at the stars and feel both wonder and terror. It's that feeling in the hallway after your boss dismisses your work. It's the why bother? So what do? Camus says we have three options. One is to simply give up, and he rejects this. The second is to take a leap of faith into a religion or belief that promises ultimate meaning. And he rejects that either by claiming it's philosophical cheating. And the third is most powerful option. We can revolt. We can live in spite of the fact that there is no ultimate meaning. We can look the absurd in the eye, acknowledge it, and then rebel by living as fully and passionately as possible. His hero is Sisyphus, the man condemned by the gods to push a boulder up a mountain only to watch it roll back down forever. A completely futile and meaningless task. And that's us, Camus says. That's our 9 to 5. That's us doing the project again. But then Camus writes the most famous line of all. We must imagine Sisyphus happy. Not because Sisyphus is deluded, but because he is conscious. He knows the rock will fall. He knows his task is futile, and in that moment when he walks back down the mountain to get the rock again, he is free. He knows his fate. And by choosing to push the rock anyway, by scoring the gods and finding his meaning in the struggle itself, he makes the fate his own. The act of pushing is his rebellion. So let's go back to that hallway. The absurdist response is not to calm down. It's to feel the anger, to feel the injustice, and to say, you know what? This is absurd. This whole situation is meaningless. And then you take a breath and you revolt. Your revolt is your choice. Your revolt is saying, okay, this system is rigged. It's absurd. My boss is indifferent, but I'm free. Your worth is not tied to your boss's opinion. You can choose to find your own meaning. You can go back and do that project again. Not for your boss, not for the company, for university, but for yourself. You can do it with such passion and integrity that the act of doing it is your victory. Absurdism isn't a shield to protect you from the world. It's a fire inside you. It validates your feelings. It says your anger at the injustice is fully sane, and it gives you permission to live, to create, and to love, not because it will last forever, because it won't, but because it matters to you right now. So let's go back to our question. It's a bad day. Which one is better? And the answer is, I think, is that we have been asking the wrong question. Yes, I know that I asked this question. Yes, my fault. Because it's not which one is better, it's which one do you need right now? They are just two different tools for two different kinds of bad days. Stoicism is the tool for external frustrations. It's the shield. So when you are stuck in traffic, when someone is rude to you, when you spill your coffee, when you are facing the 1,000 daily annoyances that are out of your control, Stoicism is your best friend. It protects your peace. It stops you from wasting energy on things you can't change. It keeps you calm and rational. Absurdism is the tool for internal and existential crisis. It's the fire. So when you are not just annoyed, but you feel hopeless. When you are not just frustrated, but you feel that deep and cold ache of why bother? When you're questioning the point of your job, your relationship, or your whole life, in those moments the Stoic Shield feels cold. Telling yourself, it's out of my control, just confirms your hopelessness. Because that's when you need fire. You need absurdism to say, yes, it is absurd. And that's what makes you free. So go, revolt, live. Find your meaning in the struggle, not the outcome. Be Sisyphus, be happy. Remember, you don't have to choose a team. You don't have to be a Stoic or an Absurdist. You can be both. You can be a Stoic in the 9 a.m. traffic jam, protecting your calm. And you can be an Absurdist at 3 p.m. when you question the entire point of your career, using that fire to create your own meaning. The goal isn't to find one single answer that solves all of life's problems. The goal is to build a toolkit, to have the wisdom to know which tool to use for which problem. So using our analogy, to know when you need a shield and when you need a fire. If you found yourself nodding along with that second part, with Camus and Sisyphus, and that strange comfort that comes from staring into the void and choosing to live anyway, because it goes deeper into this idea. This feeling that maybe our search for one great final answer is the problem itself, and that letting go of solid ground might be the only way to find our freedom. As always, thank you for being here today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give me a like and a subscription if you would like to support my video creating endeavor. The comment section is for you, so don't be shy to comment. And as always, have a good day, great week, goodbye.